moved to Los Angeles in 2009, and I needed a job, and because I dropped out of school, I needed to kind of win over my parents' support for this kind of filmmaking dream. And my dad was a fan of this show called The Young Turks, this weird Turkish dude on the internet. And so I started interning for them, and I thought Cenk was such a fascinating, inspiring, over-the-top, bombastic character that I asked him in the first week of interning if I could maybe make a documentary about him. And he said he always wanted somebody to make a documentary about him in a very Cenk fashion. So I just started filming behind the scenes. I wanted to justify my 9-to-5 job with what I was in LA to really do, which was be a filmmaker. So I worked for years with the Young Turks, directing and producing the show while kind of capturing these moments behind the scene. And I got really lucky because this kind of incredible story fell in front of me, and I was just there to capture it. And eventually I left the Young Turks, and I've been filmmaking full time. I've been very lucky. I kept trying to finish the movie. I wanted to end, and things kept happening. They got MSNBC, then they lost it. They got Current TV, and then they lost it. They got 1 billion views, and they built a new studio. And I kept trying to finish the movie, but I kept on having to keep following them and telling the story. And I'm really happy I did, because the way it ends now, I feel is really full circle, and it's much more satisfying. Current TV, for example, was doing good things like this, like by putting Cenk on there, and they couldn't survive because the cable companies wouldn't renew their contracts because they had people like Cenk. And so, it's Current TV fell through, and all good things, they fall through. And I think it's more important than ever for people like Cenk and filmmakers, to find stories like these and to tell them. And I can't take credit. I got lucky. I think there is a sequel. I think the story of Wolfpack, and hopefully when it gets passed, whenever that happens, maybe 10 years in the future, that's going to be an amazing story. But it's going to be this phenomenon and this big change, and there can't be one person with a camera following one guy like I was with Cenk. That was really easy. But with Wolfpack in this new media age, and with the amendment and everything, everyone all over the country is filming and YouTube and iPhone, and so everyone I talk to, I just say keep filming, film everything, document everything, and put it on the internet. And someday when this all happens, maybe it'll be me, maybe it'll be another filmmaker can take this crowdsourced giant amount of media from people all over the world and the country and create a story out of it. I think that'll be really important because there's not one guy, and one guy can't do it. I started when I was 8 years old, and I just wasn't interested in anything else. I was interested in so many different things, and my dad was a doctor, and I was interested in maybe being a doctor too. But if you go into any one specific thing, or you be a doctor, and you use all that money and time in school, you got to kind of be that thing. You got to be a doctor. And I was interested in medicine. I was interested in storytelling. I was interested in painting and art and visual art and music. Unfortunately, I don't have any music talent. But if in film, I can work with music and direct music. And I'm interested in such a broad, variety of things, that film was like the perfect thing that combined everything and allowed me to, tell a story about anything I wanted, like a doctor. I can't be a doctor, but I could do a story about it, or about Buddhism, or anything I want. When I was 8, I tried to make Terminator 3 before it was actually made, and I think mine was still quite better. But my 8-year-old brain wanted it to look like the action movies I went to see in the theater, and they didn't. It was me in a basement with plastic guns and plastic golf clubs and shit. And so I was I was really distraught, and I asked my dad, how can I as an 8-year-old kid in Wisconsin with no resources, how can I tell a good story, something that people might take seriously? And he introduced me to Ken Burns and Errol Morris and the art of documentary, and all I needed was a camera and an idea and a subject. And so I've always gone back to doing narrative and scripted films, and that's what I want to do, and they're a lot of fun. But documentary is this beautiful thing where you can do it independently, and you can do something important and serious, because so often the time, truth is stranger than fiction. There's so many interesting stories, right there. I want to do these action movies that were just sequels of action movies that I liked, like Star Wars and Terminator and stuff. But really, there was stories right outside my back door that were incredible, and allowed me to make movies and be taken seriously as a filmmaker at a pretty young age. I don't know if that exists anymore. It was like cars on in my sandbox on tooth floss, floss screen. I did another movie when I was 9 called Sledge, and it was about Al Capone after he went to Alcatraz, and he, in real life, got syphilis and died in prison. In my film, one of his henchmen smuggled in super steroids, and he became like the Hulk and escaped and started robbing banks with a sledgehammer. That trailer, if you find it, it's on YouTube. I'm not going to tell you, if you search for Sledge, you might actually find it. And I play the good guy and the bad guy, and I directed it. And it's on YouTube. It's pretty amazing. The film doesn't exist. I think it died on a hard drive, but the trailer for it from my 9-year-old brain is forever immortalized on YouTube, for better or worse.